Hi, this is Chris from Itonics, and today I'm going to be showing you how to monitor, analyze, and optimize your innovation portfolios using Itonics in order to steer your growth initiatives towards success all in one collaborative platform. Now, in order to kind of effectively manage all of your innovation projects, you need to continuously adjust them. You need to continuously make sure that you're doing the right things. Now, in order to do that, of course, you need one central platform where you can manage all of the data that pertains to the programs, to the projects that you're currently running within the organization. So what I want to show you now is an overview of all the current programs that we have within our organization on our program matrix. Basically, what that shows me is the following. I have all of my programs and I compare all of my programs because, again, I need to continuously and iteratively make sure that I'm doing the right things. So that means I need to compare them to one another based on a certain set of parameters. So what we do is we pit them against one another based on the economic value, so more of the external perspective versus the internal perspective, which would be the strategic alignment. So do we have the needed capabilities in order to capitalize or to actually execute the projects within each individual program? And what I get are those programs that are very important based on this evaluation, which is of course iterative and could change the composition of how these different programs are placed in comparison to one another. And what I can then do is I can jump into these individual programs and see the projects and the actual project portfolios tied to these programs and make sure that I have all the information in one place. On this overview, you can see I've got my strategic focus field applied artificial intelligence. And of course, I now want to know, okay, what are those actual projects that I've got running? So if I go down here, you'll see that I have a lot of information that pertains to this. But of course, I also have certain projects that pertain to this. For instance, this particular element. Now let's jump to this element and let's see how a project could look. Now, you can very quickly get started with your project portfolio management efforts on Itonics, as we provide you with best practice templates of the information that is needed to effectively manage and monitor all your innovation projects. So as you can see, all of the information that we really need in order to do these management activities are already on these blueprint templates. I can just fill them in order to make sure I have those parameters that I can compare projects to one another. This could be basic information such as the actual project managers, in this case myself. This could be the project innovation information. So, okay, is this a core project? So a project that actually helps strengthen our core business. So compare it to the Horizon model, for instance. What's the project status? Are there initiatives tied to it? One key factor, of course, could be sustainability initiatives that you have running that each project needs to be tied to. And what we can also do is we can start collaborating with others in the tool by entering a comment discussion and asking them to add their thoughts on a project that we're currently running. Now, of course, we're looking at a very individual project here, but I want to compare all of my projects towards one another, maybe even regardless of the program that they're tied to. So this particular project is of course tied to the program Applied Artificial Intelligence, which we mentioned earlier, but we can use the same tools to also compare all of our projects to one another that we're also using to map out all of our programs. So what this allows me to do is, it allows me to actually compare all of the projects that I currently have based on the same set of parameters that I'm using, for instance, for my programs. And I can very simply adjust this by saying that I might want to change the actual configuration by saying, okay, the color should be, for instance, let's say the strategic ambition behind this. So is it a project that helps build the core? Is it something that helps us actually build or create something new? And what I can also do is I can change the X and Y axis of my matrix in order to maybe even show the project phases that we have versus the status of a project in order to very quickly change my composition overview of what my project portfolio is all about. Now, matrix view is of course fantastic in order to kind of compare all of our projects very quickly based on two sets of parameters that I can use on the X and Y axis. But of course, I might want to have a bit more of a project board overview that actually shows me, okay, where are my projects in my process, how are they doing, and what do I or would I potentially need to adjust in order to make sure that everything is running smoothly. So what I'm seeing right here is an overview, a board overview of all my projects that very quickly summarize all of my projects based on the status. So those projects that are active versus those that are on hold and the respective phase that they're in. I can very quickly open quick overviews for each individual project and get all of the individual information that I need in order to maybe make quick assessments or adjustments. And I can of course also change these board views very simply and quickly by changing the visualization parameters. So what I can do is I can change, for instance, the labels that are shown on the element cards. So I can say, okay, I don't want the type of innovation shown on the top, but I want the status to be shown on the top, which will of course change the layout and the visual aspects of the board, which will in turn help me to bring across the message that I'm looking to bring across when communicating these views to different stakeholder groups. Now this is of course a great view if you're looking to get an overview quickly, if you're looking to see, okay, how's our pipeline doing, where are the projects currently at, and how's my funnel actually doing. But I might want the possibility to actually very quickly and very easily bulk edit certain projects and see certain parameters on those projects and compare the projects based on those parameters. Now, I've shown the matrix earlier, but we have a tool that will help you do that in a much more efficient way. This is the so-called list. And what we can do is we can create different lists using the information objects that we have, for instance, for our project portfolio. And what you can see now is you can see a list overview of all of the projects that we have, and I can then start looking at all of the parameters that we have on each individual project and can compare them to one another. So that could be financial metrics, that could be actual, strategic relevant pieces of information. So what's the benefit that we are promising ourselves from actually executing this project? What are the initiatives tied to it? What's the project team? And in which phase are these projects in? And what I can then do is I can create dashboards on top of that in order to very quickly summarize some of the key metrics or parameters across the entire project portfolio. So in this case, what I'm showing is the average CPI supplemented also by the average added value planned. I can very quickly edit these lists and add different key parameters, different properties that I want to track on the profile that could be outside of the scope of the templates that we provide. As long as these properties are added, we can of course also use them as a column for our project board or our project portfolio board. Now, we've talked a lot about how we can manage multiple projects and how we can kind of visualize them accordingly, but we might want to bring in, a bit more of a timed perspective. We want to see, okay, what projects do we have? Which of those are strategically relevant? And what does that mean for my overall planning? So what we can do within one integrated solution is we can also start building roadmaps that will basically show us all of the projects that we currently have ongoing and everything that influences these projects. We can very quickly add new activities to the roadmaps, meaning new projects or new elements that influence these projects. We can link these elements to one another. So we can link, for instance, technologies or technological developments that influence a project or trends that influence a project directly on the roadmap. We can create different types of views by dragging elements. We can create different types of views by using the quick editing actions, where I can then start manipulating the roadmap directly. I don't need to do that on an element. where I can draw connections, and where I can make sure that the roadmap is always an accurate representation of my entire portfolio. Of course, I can also add milestones to communicate the important dates for my particular roadmap. And the best thing is I can combine all of it and create as many roadmaps as I want for different purposes. Now, we've been talking about our product package called Itonics Portfolio. Now, the great thing is because we offer an integrated solution, Itonics Portfolio actually connects seamlessly with all of our other products. So that means Itonics Foresight, as well as the ideation package that we offer. This ensures that you can actually collect and connect all of the dots throughout your entire end-to-end innovation process in one collaborative platform, meaning that you will ever only need Itonics as your one digital platform for information transformation and growth.